My, oh my, have things changed since losing 100 pounds. For those of you guys who are new to the channel, hello, my name is Jasmine and I'm so glad to have you. And in this video, I want to talk to you guys about some things that have changed in my life since losing 100 pounds. Just so you guys know, I am 6'3". My heaviest weight was 340 pounds. I am now 240. I started my weight loss journey when I was 31. And it took me about 18 months to lose 100 pounds. And I did it the old-fashioned way by eating less, moving more. I hired a personal trainer, and I also went to counseling and healed my traumas and got to the root of why I was overeating in the first place. And since locking into that, I've kept the weight off now for 4 years. I'm 35. Since doing that, my life has changed drastically. Okay, I know you guys liked the last video, so we're just gonna keep it going. Another thing that has changed since losing all that weight, and I'm gonna be open, honest, and raw with you guys. I no longer am envious of bodies of other women. I used to see other pretty girls on social media, and I wouldn't even necessarily be envious of their facial features. I was more envious of how they looked in certain outfits, how they looked in bodycon dresses, how they looked in bikinis, how they looked in jeans and crop tops. And I used to be envious because I genuinely felt like I couldn't achieve that body goal, right? I had gotten so deep into being overweight that I just felt like no matter what, there was nothing that I could do to be smaller. Sometimes, especially when you're extremely obese like how I was, you start to believe that you'll always be obese and that there's nothing you can do to overcome it. Like it's just the body that you're stuck with. And I used to yo-yo diet all the time. So I would lose weight, gain it back, and then some. Lose 20, gain 30. Lose 50, gain 70, right? And it was just this toxic cycle for years upon years upon years. I had a defeated mindset. And so when I would see other women who looked like what I wanted to look like, I would be envious. I'd be like, she's so pretty, I'll never be like that. Oh, her body looks so good, I'll never be able to look like that, right? And looking at other women and feeling like that would just make me feel worse about myself. But since losing all of this weight, there's no one that I look at, and I'm like, oh, I wish I looked like that. Because I recognize now that I have way more control over my body and the things that I eat and the activities that I do than I once thought I did. And even though I had lost the 100 pounds and it took me 18 months, it still took years of building muscle. I lift heavy weights. I go to the gym regularly, about 3 times a week now, and I walk a lot. I walk about 20,000 steps a day on average. And, you know, just not only losing weight, losing fat, but body recomposition, that takes a lot of time. And I finally have gotten to the point on my journey where I love my definition. I love my body. I look very muscular, but in a feminine way. And now there's no one that I look at and I'm like envious of them. If anything, I'm more motivated or inspired, like, okay, I want to lose 20 more pounds because I want that defined 6-pack, right? But that envy feeling, that feeling of I'll never be able to achieve those goals, the feeling of feeling stuck in my body, that went away. I don't have that anymore. And if that's something that you're struggling with, I'm telling you, if you just lose weight, and I don't like to use the word just, like it is a very challenging thing to do, of course, but I'm telling you, when you do lose that weight, you will start to feel so much better about your body. You'll start to realize that you have way more control than you're giving yourself credit for, and you'll become even more happier in your body. Something else that changed since losing 100 pounds is the level of discipline that I have. I've been an ambitious person for as long as I can remember. I've always had goals of achieving this, that, the third, and I would go out and start that thing, but I could never follow through. I would always give up when things got too hard. When things were no longer fun, if the motivation wore off, I would just give up on it, right? I had hundreds of business ideas before I got into online business. And no matter what thing I tried, I could never finish it out because I lacked discipline. But losing 100 pounds It taught me a level of discipline that I never had before. It taught me that no matter how hard this thing is, whatever it is you're working towards, you still have to keep going. In those 18 months of just losing weight, not even talking about building muscle and bulking, because I did a lot of that too, just losing weight, that was hard. There would be weeks in that journey where I wouldn't lose any weight, or the weight that I lost didn't meet the expectations that I had. So when I say weight loss, no matter what video you watch, just know I'm referring to fat loss. Sometimes I say them interchangeably by accident. It's really fat loss that we're focused on here, not weight loss. Losing fat is an extremely slow process, okay? Social media doesn't want to tell you that. You can lose weight. People can lose 20 pounds quickly. But losing fat and keeping muscle is hard. But that's the process that you need to undergo if you want to have a healthy look to you. Because I'm sure you have seen people who have lost weight, but they look sick. I'm sure you've seen people who have lost weight and they have a lot of loose skin, like a lot of loose skin, right? That's not what we're achieving over here. Over here, we're achieving fat loss, which is a very slow process that requires you to eat less food and that requires you to lift weight, heavy weight, okay? But that process is slow. And the scale is not always a true indicator of the progress, because the scale will tell you that you've only lost a half a pound, but your jeans are fitting better. You look better in your clothes. You might see some definition that you didn't see before. But I was so focused on the scale and what that number said on the scale, which you do need to be focused on. I'm not sitting here saying that, being 300 pounds is healthy, even if you're muscular as hell. It's not healthy, right? It's still a lot of weight on you. But there would be weeks where I was doing everything right. I'm counting my calories, I'm measuring things out, I'm weighing things out. I didn't skip a workout. I'm gonna lose at least 3 pounds this week. You get on the scale and it's only a half a pound. Sometimes it's no pound. And you're like, now how is that? How the hell is that, right? And it'll piss you off. It'll really piss you off. There would be weeks where that happened and I was just like, kind of like, F it. Like, what is the point of this? Why am I even doing this? I'm not getting to the results I want. In those processes of feeling that way and still keeping going, that's where the true discipline is built. If anyone on here has lost any amount of weight, you know exactly what I'm talking about, especially as women, because our body goes through different things. Like I've noticed for myself, I don't know if you've experienced this. When I'm on my period or when my period is close, I'll put on an extra 8 to 10 pounds. And when you're losing weight, that 8 to 10 pound gain can really mess with your head, especially when you know you're doing everything right. It's one thing to try to lie to yourself, because I've done that too, where I will sit here and say, oh no, I hate what I was supposed to this week, right? Knowing damn well, knowing daggone well you was cheating, right? But when you know you've done everything right and you get on that scale and the weight didn't drop to the expectations that you had, a lot of times you're ready to give up, but you don't. You keep going. You trust the process. That's where true discipline is built. And by having so many instances where that happened and I still kept showing up regardless of what the scale said, I built so much discipline. And that discipline that I built has carried over into other parts of my life. It's carried over into my relationships. It's carried over into my business. It's carried over into my content. It's just carried over into everything. All because of the discipline I built on that weight loss journey. Now when I start stuff, even if I'm not getting the results that I want, I still keep going. Now when I, think of an idea, I'm no longer saying to myself, I don't know if you can do that, Jazz. Now I'm like, oh, you can do that because you lost 100 pounds. If you can lose 100 pounds, girl, I know you can do this, right? It's just this total different level of energy, of discipline that I have, all because I lost all that weight. Something else that changed since losing 100 pounds is my level of self-love. Now, I started loving myself, developing self-love when I went to counseling. And I didn't even go to counseling for weight loss. I went to counseling because I was depressed. And it was just a period in my life where I felt like no one understood what I was going through. I had quit my 9 to 5 during COVID, and that's when I started my online business. And, at that time, I needed external validation. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to make everyone happy. I was a people pleaser back then. And when I quit my job, no one agreed with that decision. And again, I never had a big group of people in my life anyways. I come from a very small family, and I never had a lot of friends in the first place. So these people, probably like 10 people tops that I knew, okay? And because no one agreed with the decision of me quitting my job and, working for myself, I lost a lot of people who at the time were close to me and the approvals that I needed in order to function. And so it forced me into this isolation period where I didn't feel like I had anyone, and that wasn't something that I was comfortable with. I didn't used to be the person who could sit with self and be okay with self. And so because all of that was going on, I needed to go to counseling to fix that. And in counseling, as you keep digging, you get into the roots of why you are the way you are, and healing that, I started to develop self-love, something I never had before. And I started being okay with who I am. And so then I naturally started losing weight because I believe that once you develop that self-love, losing weight becomes natural because the way you see yourself is different. So the way you treat yourself is going to be different. You're going to stop eating things that, aren't healthy for you. You're going to stop overeating to numb the emotions that you're feeling, right? Things just naturally change as you start to develop self-love. But as I started losing weight, because I'm starting to love myself, I started to feel good about not just about who I was becoming, but what I was seeing in the mirror. I started to see a version of myself that I never saw before. I started to see someone who went through what she went through, but despite that, it doesn't define me. I started to treat myself better. I started to see how I feel when I'm more active versus how I feel when I'm not active. I started to feel how I feel when I eat healthy versus how I feel when I don't. And the more I started to feel the differences, right? It's one thing to see them. You can see them in the weight that you carry, but when you feel those differences, you start to love how you feel about yourself when you eat healthy. You start to love how you feel when you move, when you're more active. You become obsessed with that feeling of being healthy, right? That self-love that you develop, you take that with you in all parts of your life. You start to notice how you feel when you hang around certain people who make you feel sad versus how you feel when you're not around those people and they're not making you feel sad. So then you start cutting those people off. You become obsessed with the feeling of feeling good. That's a level of self-love that I feel, unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people get to develop. There's some people who will walk around and they don't know why they feel sad. They don't know why they feel depressed. They don't have an answer. They just know this is how they feel. They don't know why they feel anxious. They don't know why they feel frustrated. They don't know why they feel that way. But when you get to a point in your journey where you know why you feel the way you feel, and you do more of feeling good, that creates a level of self-love that you never even knew existed. And a lot of that came from weight loss. Because, and I've said this in other videos, what you put into your body is what you get out. The more healthy foods you put in, the better you're going to feel, the more energy you're going to have, the more focus you're going to have, the more productive you're going to be. You know, people who prioritize their health just have a better quality of life. To be able to get up every day and you're not groggy, you're not exhausted, you don't need naps, right? It's just a better quality. When you're up, you're up. You know, I've lived both lives. I know exactly how it feels to be tired by 10 o'clock in the morning because I had a coffee milkshake for breakfast that was 800 grams of sugar. I know exactly how that feels. But when I get up and I eat my yogurt and my fruit and my granola, I feel different. I'm not ready to go to bed at 11 a.m. because the high of sugar has worn off, right? You just develop this love about yourself, and you become more protective of what you tolerate, because that's just who you've become. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. But those are some of the things that have changed since losing 100 pounds. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to join the Patreon. The link is down below in my description. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.